Sick. Okay, sweet. Yeah. So, right. In terms of marketing, couple different things I want to touch on first. So when it comes to TikTok marketing, TikTok's changing a lot, always does change a lot. Short form's changing a lot. Right now, I would say that Reels are just as good. So like you can apply this strategy to Reels as well, right? So everything I'm gonna use TikTok as the example, but like when I'm explaining this stuff, also think about like Reels and also think about shorts as well, right? Because shorts are actually underrated and Reels are really popping off at the moment. And there's some really good stuff happening with reels, and I think it's just because the fight for attention, right? But there's a couple of things that I'm noticing. The first thing I wanted to say, which is kind of like just out of the out of the realm of like what we're going to discuss in marketing, but this is something that I'm thinking to implement in my agency at the moment. And this might not apply to everyone in the current stage they're at, but this is like a gem that you could implement in the future. But if you're doing probably 10K a month, let's just say profit for your agency, then this could be like really good for you. And it's like the clipping method. So I'm adding a section to the program on it. The TikTok section for the program should be done by the end of the day. But the clipping side of things is super interesting. I had a conversation with Stephen about it the other night. And like we're both gonna apply it to our personal brands. But like after I got off the call with Stephen the other night when we discussed it, like I was thinking like this could be super smart to also use for like the models. And what it is, it's like what you can do is I'm gonna make an in-depth tutorial on how you can actually set this up. But the base level of this stuff to get you guys thinking of what you can do is like long form content is coming back like massively, right? And in a big way. And like what I'm seeing, I'm like one skill I've got that's helped me serve just to give my big myself up and feed my ego. But like one of the best skills that I've got is seeing trends early, right? And I'm really good at seeing trends early. So I'm seeing a trend right now on socials where like I'd call it like podcasts in action are going to be like the new meta, right? So what does that mean? Like podcast in action means obviously podcasts are like, out there, Joe Rogan podcast, sit down, talk, interview style podcast. But what I'm starting to see take place is like a lot of the big movers are starting to do podcasts in action. So what that looks like is, for example, if you guys follow Alex Amosi, recently he's now doing like this podcast in action with Chris Williamson, where they're just in the gym like podcast style, just documenting the training session while conducting a podcast, almost like asking each other deep questions, this and that, while they're training. And there's a couple of other people doing the same method where like there's another guy that's doing something with Andrew Huberman where it's a podcast format, but they start the podcast off doing a bit of fitness training, then they go eat some food, then they go and like do a bow and arrow shooting, and it's called like shoot arrow and something. I can't remember the exact name, but they're doing like a podcast, but there's action involved. And then like one of the best examples of like a solo version. So like obviously the examples I've used is like two people conducting a podcast, but like the best example of just like a solo in action podcast is Sam Sulek, the fitness influencer. So like he is like the prime example of like just breaking every norm for YouTube. Like he doesn't do proper thumbnails. He uploads every single day. He has like 9 cuts in an entire 50-minute video, whereas Mr. Beast has like 9 cuts in the first 4 seconds. So like he's completely gone the opposite way. And if you look at all the comments and you look at like the human behavior around these new styles, everyone's starting to get that nostalgia and being like, it feels like old YouTube's back. It feels like you go in to experience like a friend living a day in a life, and they're just keeping it real. So like I've been thinking, right, how can I utilize this not only for my personal brand but for our models and stuff, right? So a couple of our models are like really big personalities. We're starting to think like, right, let's just do some more long form content on YouTube where we can just start documenting what it's like to be in their shoes, what they do on a day to day, and just being like really vulnerable, really real with the audience, very basic edits. And we're just going to try and post like every day on YouTube for a lot of our models. And then I'm going to continue to do the same with my personal brand. So I'm in the process of moving house. So once I move house, I'm just going to document every single day of what it's like from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, and just very base level editing, like very Sam Sulek style video where I'm just conducting a podcast. Like maybe, if I'm hanging out with Jack, like I'll mic Jack up, mic myself up, and we'll just set a camera and we'll just do what we do in a regular day, just conduct business. And what that does is like people are like Sam Sulek is a perfect example because like you can't really sit there and watch 50 minutes locked in. Sam Sulek is the type of person that you put on in the background while you're training, while you are cooking food, and you're just like watching his life. So like that is really powerful, and that's the meta that I'm seeing coming back on long form. And there's only like a very couple of like few individuals that are doing it, and I've started to see like Gary V kind of mention it, some like similar things. So I'm like, right, this is going to be the next like meta. Like obviously you've had like the meta of like the short form talking head clips and all these different things. The next meta is going to be podcast in action. So if you can like take advantage of that now with your personal brands and with your models, I think it's going to be very powerful. And just being like super, just keeping it real, like discussing things that you would discuss, like talking to the viewers if you're just talking to a friend. And if you've got like another person, like then you can sort of do a podcast style wherever you want to do, right? But that's something big. And then what off the back end of that, because you're producing so much long form content, the strategy then that I'm will be implementing on the back end, just to let you guys know exactly what I'm doing, is we're going to set up a Discord channel, and we're going to get people in that Discord channel. There's a bot that I'll show you guys how to set up. But pretty much what it does is we're going to get then clippers, like people that will clip up content and post it across TikTok short form, like, you know, how Andrew Tate blew up, how E-Man blew up, all these people. And the way that you incentivize that is you pay that you structure like CPM. So like, for example, on YouTube, for every 1,000 views, if you're in the business niche, you might get paid like $1.30 CPM, right? So that means, you know, if you get 1 million views, you're getting paid like $1,000 roughly, right? So like you can set up the same thing where you can incentivize like people that maybe not like the highest level, people that just want to make some extra money. And again, I can potentially like help you guys set this up. But like, for example, what I'm going to do is just put an Instagram story out, hit up all my old leads, maybe people that couldn't, you know, didn't want to join mentorship but want to make some type of money. It's like, right, you can join this Discord. You just got to go clip up all my content, post it across socials, and I'm going to pay you on performance. So if you go and get me 20 million views, bro, the Amex has no limit. Like you keep bringing me views, I'll keep fucking paying you. Like it doesn't matter. So like you set up, there's a bot that they can join the Discord. They link the TikTok account to the bot, and then the bot comes up with like CPMs, and then you'll know how much you pay them out, and then you just pay them out through PayPal for bringing in new views. And we're going to implement it not only with the attractive character with the personal brand, but we're going to implement it with models as well. So like if our models, like the big personalities, start doing like the long form podcast in action style stuff where maybe they get another OnlyFans girl on and do a day in the life of like content creation for OnlyFans or wherever it is, just like a day-to-day stuff in the OnlyFans space, because there's no girls doing like, if you can apply Sam Sulek fitness industry to OnlyFans industry, there's no one doing that. So like if you can tap into that early and then get clippers to go and clip up all that short form and then post it, then like you can easily start to like really build solid long-term brands and like really blow up. And that's like where we're at right now in terms of like trends and testing, because I think that's going to be the next big meta. So I want to get ahead of the curve and get all the like hurdles out the way now. Like obviously it sounds great in theory, but there's probably going to be a ton of different hurdles that we run into. So I want to figure that out now before everyone starts doing it and they start to get competitive. So like again, there's no one doing the Sam Sulek, the Alex Emoji, Chris Williams stuff like in the OnlyFans industry, not only for personal brand wise, but also for the model side of things. So we're going to do that. We're going to get clippers that are going to go clip up their content and incentivize them based on the more views they bring in on their TikTok accounts, the more money that they get from the CPM that gets worked out, right? And it's sort of like an omnipresent strategy. So like you're everywhere all times at once. And it just makes the more sense. But before I go into anything else, that's like just what I wanted to cover, just to start, and then I'll go into the actual TikTok marketing side of things. But that's something for you guys to keep an eye on for personal brands and models. But yeah, Finn, what's up, bro? Got some questions?
How's it going? It was only a quick one, Dylan. I noticed when watching your course and everything, you had all your Google Chrome laid out very neatly with the
Yes.
tabs and everything. I just wondered what the name of that software was to set it up.
It's built into Google. I'll show you exactly how to do it now. One sec.
Awesome.
So pretty much what you do is share my screen. So what you do, you mean like these, right? Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Right. So pretty much what you do, right, is like you click, you come here, you click, you right click,
Yeah.
add tab to group, new group, and then blah 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 blah. And then you can drag everything into that group, and then you can close it, open it, wherever you want to do.
Okay, now. Okay, perfect. No, that's fine. And the only other thing is I remember a while back you mentioned about obviously something we spoke about earlier as well about the management and sort of setting out the roles within your business before you expand. I remember you touched on that probably 3 or 4 months ago, but there was a website you used to actually identify and lay that out neatly. I just wanted the name just so I can start looking into that as well.
Let me drop the link 1 second. Let me pull it up. It's called Mac. It is MAKH. Let me just pull it up. I'll send the link. Oh,
perfect. Thank you.
That's not loading. I'll drop it in the Discord chat at the end of the call, just so I can cover this. 1 sec. Yeah, John, what's up, bro?
Cheers, man.
3 questions. Number 1, you were talking about doing these long things. Is that live or not live?
No, not live. No. Just like pre-recorded. I would honestly go and like look at. I would go and watch. I'll literally drop the links in the chat now. I would go and watch these 3 videos to get an understanding of like what I mean. So for example, because the short form clips of this stuff are really popping off, and it just really does kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Let me get this up.
So while you're doing that, another question I had was, when we're hiring these clippers to go through and chop our stuff, how do we know that they're actually getting it in front of real people and not just putting it in front of these like bot farms?
So that's what the Discord bot does. Like it will like it'll figure like once you set the Discord bot up and they connect their TikTok, you'll know if it's like fake views or not. And it's pretty easy to tell just by looking at as well. Like especially on TikTok, it's kind of easy to know like if they're just faking it for engagement or not. And it's also like I'll explain when I go more in depth, but the TikTok bot that you set up pretty much figures that out for you. And if you are skeptical, obviously you can just take a deeper look, and it's pretty easy to tell whether or not that they're actually doing that. But yeah, let me drop this link. Right, so that's the first link. That's the second link, and that is the third link. So the first 2 are like obviously more podcast in action. Sam Zulik kind of does a podcast in action just on his own while like a day in the life. So like figuring out like the mix of that is like going to be really good. And then like the clips just do so much better short form, because you just get some like really real organic moments. Because you have to think like, this is why I see the trend going that way, is because everyone's almost fed up of like it's almost like the beastified. YouTube is almost being like Mr. Beastified, where everyone's like trying to become that Mr. Beast. But no one's gonna be the next Mr. Beast. And like everyone's almost sick of like the really like high energy, like cut stuff. And like that's why like Sam Sulik has done so well, is because he's done like the complete opposite of everything that you're meant to do to go viral. And he's like just blowing up because it's like refreshing. And obviously the clipping side of things on TikTok is the reason for that, because people have just found his long form stuff and started clipping it. And obviously there's stuff like his physique and his age that's obviously massively contributed to that, and his personality, but just taking advantage of that, just meta in general, is going to be like a massive thing. And there's a really good talk that Gary Vee does explaining something simple. I'll drop that in chat as well. But I listened to it the other day. That's the Gary Vee talk. He explains it quite well. But though I would just look at those for research purposes and just like figure out what I'm talking about, just so you can get like more clearer on that vision. And it's just going to make like a massive difference if you can capitalize on it early. And yeah, like it'll probably be a slow start, but it's just going to be obviously like something to, it's just more long form to just use for short form. And that way, like you could, like we're going to purposely sign a new model specifically to only do long form with. So like we're not even going to have it focused on anything else other than just you. So we're going to find a really good personality and just specifically only do this stuff on YouTube. And we might find like 2 models. We haven't figured out yet. We're either gonna just find one, or we're gonna find like 2, and those 2 models need to be somewhat friends, and then we're just gonna like do this entire like in action podcast and like figure that out, and they just make that their sole focus, so they're not worried about TikTok or Instagram. Like they're just solely doing this, and then we've got clippers clipping them up, and we're going to test that to see how that goes. And the good thing with the clippers is like you work out the CPM, like the bot can work out the CPMs based on what actually makes sense, right? Because obviously you don't want to be paying someone like $1,000 if they get 1 million views, but those 1 million views didn't convert, right? Because otherwise you're just wasting money. So it needs to make sense to where, like, as long as like those clippers are obviously going to have like tracking links, for example, in their bios. And then if that tracking link converts to, let's just say they've gained 16 million views this month, and that tracking link as a result has brought in, 5K in net profit, then you can pay them a percentage of that, right? That's where it would probably be with the OnlyFans side of things. Whereas like the personal brand stuff, you could either do it's going to be different. It's going to be more objective. But like I'm laying out an entire section where I really break it down. But I just wanted to give you guys like the like sort of high level overview before I completely like break it down, just so you know like where I'm going. So if you guys want to like dig a bit deeper into yourself and like figure some stuff out, then you can do that as well. Now in terms of TikTok, like the strategies, what we're doing at the moment, obviously that's the long form stuff that we're going to be using, clipping TikToks, etc. Like I just call it like being omnipresent. In terms of like our main TikTok strategies at the moment, let me see if I can just pull up a new creator that we signed and show you sort of like what we're doing. TikTok. So this is a very like we signed this. We literally signed. What the fuck is this? TikTok shit. One sec. We signed this girl specifically because we're making a case study on it for mentorship. Just we wanted to pick like a very, not to sound mean, but like a very average looking girl that doesn't really have anything so like special that people would say. And we just wanted to like make a case study out of like how it would work and see if it would work with like how TikTok is. And so far it's working quite well. Not gonna show the where's this? Here we go. So this is like an account we're doing at the moment. Nothing crazy, like nothing crazy at all, but there's traction, which is the main thing. So the account's not that old. It's only been up for a couple of days, but this is what we're like doing at the moment. So a couple of TikTok strategies. What we're doing at the moment, 2 strategies mainly. And the first strategy is gonna be our long-term strategy, and the second strategy is a more short-term, controversial, capitalizing on controversy kind of strategy that maybe you get 100K followers, maybe you get 500K followers, but maybe you get banned. And it's not like the sexual stuff, like it's not like the we're not doing flash trend, like it's not that type of ban. You might just get banned for being like controversial and getting strikes and all this kind of thing. But then also like we've got a really good guy now as well inside of TikTok, not inside of TikTok in the sense of like, he can help us, but in the sense of he can get TikTok accounts back. And Stephen used the guy the other day. I put him in Discord, and like Stephen said, which is quite interesting. But I had a conversation with Stephen earlier, and he mentioned since he was doing like maybe a more controversial strategy, and he did get banned at like 100K, wasn't it, Steve?
That's right. Yep.
And he thinks since he's been unbanned, he feels like the account's like even better and more lenient. Like you feel like you can post more riskier stuff.
Oh, we're posting all sorts on it, mate. And like, so the secondary accounts, there's measurable data. The backup accounts we're posting the same content on are getting strikes and bans. And the principal account that was unbanned by this guy is not getting struck. So either it's the size of the account, because it's not conclusive. The size of the account potentially is a factor, right? But for the same content to be banned across the board on smaller accounts at 5-10K and not 100K suggests to me that the conversation that Dylan's guy has had has potentially made the account not touchable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Right. So yeah, in terms of so that's an interesting insight. But in terms of the strategies, like the main strategy that we're using to get like instant traffic which I'll show you with this girl right now, is a more controversial strategy. This is one side of it. There's the other side with, so like you can either be controversial or you can do the niches and make the niche controversial, which is even more powerful in my opinion. So like, for example, on this one, we can pretty much predict virality, but we don't want to go too crazy with it because we do want to keep the account up just for like content purposes, right? For case study purposes. So for example, this is like a brand new account. And like, again, like just a very normal girl, never done OnlyFans before, like completely brand new. And like she's gone from, when I drop the case study, you'll see we started on the 7th of this month. And she's done about 8 grand so far this month. So literally from like 0 to 8K, which is not the most phenomenal case study in the world, but like, you know, we've taken girls from 4K to 70K in a month before, but like just a very good, like average case study. And she'll probably finish the month on about 9 grand, probably. Maybe we hit 10. But like, for example, what we did is like we just posted some like more regular based TikToks, just to like, we was testing, right? So what we do is like we do a 6-week roadmap where we come up with content verticals. So we will pick 5 content verticals, and then based on those 5 verticals, so I'll give an example. We'll figure out like what the girl's into, what she likes. So for example, the verticals could be trending challenges and dances. So we're keeping up with like TikTok meta. The other one could be lifestyle and vlogs. The other one could be like get readies with me and makeup. The other one could be like fitness and wellness, and the other one could be maybe like storytelling and like personal narratives, right? There's tons of different things. There's loads of different verticals that you could come up with, right? We'll try and get at least 2 pieces of content of each vertical out per week. So for example, like let's just say we got 5 verticals. We want to get through we want 2 of those 5 verticals to be posted every single week, right? So we're posting content like that, then we're figuring out what's working, what's not, and then we're tracking it, and we come up with like a 6-week roadmap. And we do this for both strategies at the moment. So we do it for the long-term like branding strategy, and we do it for like the more short-term controversial strategy. So the 6-week roadmap, firstly, what we do is we have this worksheet called the Define Your Why worksheet. And what we do is we brainstorm. We firstly define the why. So like, what is the why? Like, why are we creating content for this person? What is the goal? And like, what is the purpose? How is it going to serve the viewer, right? We're not thinking like, how can we get the most OnlyFans subs necessarily? We're thinking like, how can we create content that serves the viewer first? And we're defining like that girl's purpose as being a content creator, right? Not like an OnlyFans girl, but what's her purpose for wanting to become like the next influencer, right? Like, what is her purpose? What purpose does she serve online, on the internet, on TikTok? Once we've come up with that, then we come up with the 5 verticals, like content verticals, like I just give examples of. Then what we do after that is then we brainstorm 30 ideas into those content verticals, right? So 5 content verticals, and then we're going to brainstorm 30 ideas into those content verticals. So we're going to break them up into the 5 verticals, right? Then once we've done that, then we will draft 15 of the best ideas. And then we'll revise 15 of the best ideas that we've picked, and we'll see like how we can tweak them, how we can make them better. And a lot of the time we'll get ideas from looking at what's trending and stealing like an artist, making them better. And sometimes we will come up with original ideas as well. And that's like very hard to teach. Like the thing with content, that's the hardest part. And like my content mentor like says the same thing, is like, it's very hard to, you can teach the principles and the frameworks, but really like there's no way to speed up like the content muscle. Like it's something you've just got to build. Like you've just got to build that like content muscle yourself by just like figuring it out and doing it. And the 6-week roadmap that we do is like the easiest way to build that muscle and figure out what's working and what's not, because it involves a lot of tracking, right? So week 1 of the 6-week roadmap, define your why. Like the why of her brand, come up with the 5 content verticals, brainstorm 30 ideas into those content verticals, draft 15 videos, revise 15 videos, and now you should have like 15 like good potential like scripts and ideas that's ready to film. So then you give them to your creator, and she's going to film those 15 videos in bulk. And now you've got the next week to post those 15, right? And then in that next week, you're going to continue brainstorming ideas into those content verticals. You're going to draft another 15 additional videos, revise those 15 videos, and then again, batch shoot those 15 videos, edit those 15 videos, and then upload them the next week, right? And then you're going to continue to do that for the 6 weeks. So for 6 weeks, but throughout that 6 weeks, you're going to have a Google Sheets where you track what is performing and what's not. So let's just say the dancing vertical, or let's just say one of the verticals is like OnlyFans based trends. Let's just say that's doing really good. We will know from all the data. So every time we post, we put the URL into a spreadsheet, and I'll give you guys access to the spreadsheet that we use. And you just copy and make it for yourself. We put the URL into the spreadsheet. We put how many likes, how many comments, how many views, how many shares, and we organize it based on those views. So, and then we organize them on categories of the content, right? So we will have all the links, all the categories, and you can see a breakdown. And then what we'll do is we'll figure out what's working and what's not. Then after the 6 weeks of posting like that meticulously, we'll get to a point where like week 4, we're uploading like 15 to 20 videos. Week 5, we're doing like 25 to 30 videos, because we're just building up all these ideas, building up all these scripts. We're doing that every single day. And then it's usually on week 5 where we, the end of week 5, we identify the top 3 verticals that are outperforming the rest, right? So the top 3 outperforming content verticals. And then at the end of that week 5, we're going to eliminate the 2 underperforming content verticals, right? So at that stage, we know like what's working and what's not. And maybe we didn't even strike 3 winning verticals. Maybe only 1 or 2 came through. So that way we've got to kind of double down on the ones that did work. Because out of 5 verticals, you should have 1 winner. Like minimum, and hopefully you get 3. But let's just say you do have worst case scenario, and after 6 weeks you have 1 winner. What we'll then do is we'll double down on that 1 winner, because we know it's a winner. So we'll keep producing that style of content, and then we'll just repeat another 6-week roadmap with another 4 additional new verticals and test them and go through the same process while still hammering down on that 1 vertical, and producing as much as that 1 winning vertical as possible. And then again, you'll repeat then weeks 1 to 4, as long as the content is performing, right? So after you've completed the first initial 6-week roadmap, you're pretty much just repeating week 1 to 4 throughout the entire, just ongoing forever, right? You're just always tracking, you're always revisiting what worked, what didn't work, because it's likely that you'll figure out whether it's like more of a production problem or a vertical problem, and that way you know, like maybe it's model centric, maybe it's the content ideas, maybe you're not doing a good job on that front. And while you're tracking everything, you'll just know, like if after the 6 weeks you're not having nothing that's hit, so like in that 6-week period, like if you don't even get any videos that perform even half decently, then you know there's something wrong on the content end or the model end where she's not producing enough. So you almost have KPIs in this roadmap, and I'll send you the exact roadmap we use so you can see exactly the KPIs the models need to hit. And you just pretty much explain to your models, like if you don't hit these KPIs over this 6-week period, like we can't guarantee that you're going to get any crazy results, because it takes 6 weeks for us to figure out like what it is that is going to work with you. And then after that 6 weeks, then we can start to scale really fast. So like you need that 6-week like play in place, and that's something that you really need to like get across to your models, that like it's not all the time that you can guarantee you're going to blow these girls up like instantly on TikTok, because those days of TikTok are really over unless you're really good at content. And the only way that we're able to like get a bang of videos within the first week is because like we've done it for such a long time, and it's like sort of unrealistic to be able to do that until you've gone through this 6-week roadmap process over and over again, and you like start to figure it out. But like realistically, in that 6 weeks, you should start to see some really solid traction if you follow the roadmap specifically. So like this roadmap is literally like we put together like specifically just from tons and tons of testing, and this is almost like proven that if you follow this, it is 100% proven. Like if you follow this in those 6 weeks, you will start to see traction and have success. But if like you don't follow it and you don't hit the KPIs, then again, you can't guarantee success with that, right? So you have to follow this specifically. Like almost scientifically, analytically put together to make it unreasonable for your model that if she follows it, she will succeed, right? So that's like the roadmap side of things that we do, and we do that for 2 verticals. So we do that for 2 accounts. So every creator that we sign, we make them 2 accounts, and one is either sometimes. So for the one that we're testing right now, we're doing personal brand, like just very general personal brand, but we're making it a controversial personal brand. And then the other one, we're doing the niche based stuff, right? So we always do 2. Now, controversial personal brand, maybe not the best long term, but we're just doing this as an experiment with a new creator, and it's working so far. And then the other side of the coin is the niche based stuff, right? So again, you're just creating sexual based content around specific niches like basketball, Formula One. And it's all timing based content. So like you're timing it with current events and current news that's going on, right? So that's like the key thing to know there. And then pretty much like you're just split testing them both and seeing what works. Now, usually we find that the niche accounts tend to perform better off the start. And usually like within 2 weeks of the 6-week roadmap for us, the niche accounts start getting a lot of traction, because after consistently posting like 2 to 3 times a day, every day, in 5 content verticals within a specific niche, like you just start to pick up traction very fast. Because even if, like, let's just say the first 2 weeks nothing hits in that niche, you will have that one post where you time it perfectly, it gets into the algorithm, where you make a really good like sexual innuendo, for example, on Formula One or on the Man City game on the weekend. And like if you're consistently doing that for 6 weeks, there's no way that you don't have one of those posts that really like blows up. And that's why the niche accounts are so powerful. But with a personal brand stuff, it can be more of a slower process, where you might not guarantee that you're going to have as many viral videos, but over time you'll start to build an actual solid audience, right? So that's like the main things when it comes down to like the 2 strategies we're using in terms of personal brand and like the niche stuff. And the niche stuff is like, again, we know that we could get banned, and it's not going to be attached to her brand. Like we don't want to build brands around niches. Like in reality, like we want to build, because it can get competitive, right? So the reason we don't want to like have like an F1 branded girl is because anyone else can come into that space and compete with us and be a better F1 branded girl. So they're more just short term, like try and get views by capitalizing on like market trends, like what current events, like news and stuff like that. And we're just using that specifically to get subs. And then in terms of like the longevity brand is more like a long-term play, right? So like, for example, when I show like this creator, an example of what I mean with like a controversial personal brand. So with this account's only like a week old. With this, for example, what we did that was super controversial was we just posted some regular TikToks, just to like, just to get some natural traction. And then all of a sudden then we're like, right, now we've got some decent traction. Let's do something super, super controversial that like there's no way this doesn't go viral. So what we did for this example is like a slideshow. I don't know why this is not looped in, but why the fuck is that not looped in? My laptop's not. So it is a very serious joke, right? Like it's a joke about an abortion, right? Like, did we make it? Like, no, you got Henry hoovered out and put in the bin. Like, that's fucking crazy, right? Like, that's wild. But it got a ton of traction. And as this was getting traction, like this creator's going live. So like as this post is popping off, like as soon as it hits that like 70K view mark and it starts going crazy and crazy and crazy, like she's on live like for 8 hours, just like as much as she can live, like milking the views, and just like playing into that role. And then that's converting, and then that's how we're making money, and that's how we've done like 8 grand so far this month. But like you can see like the 713 replies to this comment, like it's just like like you can just see like 1,000 replies to one fucking comment. Like it's obviously like just very dark humor jokes, and it is a fucked up joke. Like it actually is, like it is fucked. But we capitalized on her and made 8 grand in a month. So it's like you can go really far and push the boat, and like you could easily get banned for something like that. But it was just like a risk that we wanted to take. And then again, we're just like, we're just testing some stuff, and we're now in the like slideshows can hit really well. Like slideshows are hitting really well at the moment. And we just wanted to test it out, because what we noticed is slideshows was one of the variables in the vertical that we test. So like, let's just say one of our verticals is like I don't know, like cooking or something, like she's doing cooking. We'll then also not just at the base level test those verticals, but we're testing variables in those verticals. So like, for example, it could be a slideshow is one variable and a video is another variable, right? So one vertical, two variables. And what we were seeing on these posts when we was doing videos of the same vertical that we were doing slideshows, the slideshows were actually performing better than the videos. So like one of the verticals we had was literally just called controversial, like just being fucking out of pocket, right? And we tested controversial videos, controversial slideshows, and from these two slideshows, we seen that the slideshows are actually performing a lot better than the videos. So let's make a really controversial slideshow and really like up the ante and see what happens. And then obviously then we did this, and this popped off crazy, right? And now realistically, like what we should have been doing, this is the issue when you're trying to take on new creators that, like, you know, we've run a fucking massive agency. Like we should be putting more time into this creator. But what I should have done is now, like, once this blown up, I should have posted 5 to 10 slideshows like while this was blowing up. Like that's what I should have done. And I could have probably got this account to 20, 30K. Because I'm capitalizing on the growth for this by posting more slideshows that would work. But I didn't do that. So learn from my mistakes. That's what I should have done. That's what we would have done with our bigger models that we pay more attention to. But again, because she's like a newer model, it's just like, right, okay, let's just whatever is. We've obviously missed the boat on this. But again, looking at it now, like we should have done that, right? Because this video initially after replying to these comments, like obviously did well, but we should have capitalized on it way more. We should have done slideshows, because why are we doing videos when obviously the slideshows are the ones that are performing better, right? So that's something that you can learn from my mistakes on that piece, and that's going to do better. So like that, this is an example of like what we do. And then again, when these posts are blowing up, we're getting it to go live. And then again, you just go from there. So that's a little bit of game that you guys can implement there. And I've got a TikTok section. It's a big section. I've been working on it for a long time. Like it's taken a long time, but it should be realistically finished by tonight. And then I'm just gonna film it on Loom and explain how that all works. And you'll get our content roadmaps, our sheets, so you can just tailor to your own stuff and see what we do. But if anyone has any questions on that side of things, let me know. If anyone has any specific like TikTok marketing questions, just let me know.
I want to know if you're going to like redo that one since it did so well.
Yeah. That's exactly. So like, we'll probably either we should have done like similar things to that while it was initially popping off like 3-4 days ago. But now like Jack's running that account, so like I've not really got much input on that account. I'm just letting him do his thing. I just don't really have the time to like mess around with that type of account. But Jack's just experiment on it. But like I'll just probably drop Jack a line after this, and he's probably now in the process of coming up with something like another controversial slideshow that might be completely different, or it might be somewhat latched onto that post, but somewhat span in a different way. Like he might like, I don't know, like for example, like knowing him, he's probably going to do some out of pocket stuff where she has a second abortion. Like fuck knows, like I have no idea what he will do, but he'll probably come up with some interesting stuff. But yeah, that's like really, like, you know, that's not good for like a long-term personal brand. Like you don't want to do that stuff. Like it's a bit far. But that's an example of like what you can do. Like if the like long-term like 6-week roadmap stuff with like the niche account, or like just the general personal brand, like influencer style content is taking a bit slower and taking 6 weeks to put into practice, and you can make accounts like that on the side where you can like think of really controversial stuff just to get more traction for your creator, right? Because like obviously the other accounts we're testing with who weren't like, they were doing well, and like I would say like the other 2 accounts we've got for who in specific are like obviously the niche account, the long-term personal brand account, like they're doing well. They've probably brought in like $3,000 in revenue from 0 to 3K in those first months. But then their account, then we're like, let's just test some like you've got to be a bit of a mad scientist, right? So we're just like, let's just make a third account, just test some random shit and be super controversial and see if we can like get it to 10K this month. And then we did that, and that account's probably responsible for bringing in like 5K or 4K. So like it obviously makes a big difference. And a lot of that came from live as well, like just going live while the content was like popping off. And again, we could have made more if we'd really capitalized on that big video that got 5 mil. Like we should have done a lot. Like we should have been churning out the content. And that's when I'll speak to Jack too. But maybe she was just being lazy after. I have no idea what. I don't really know what the behind the scenes of this specific creator is. But yeah, that's where I would have done differently. Is I would have took more advantage and got to really tune out different content and try and get known for that. And just gone that way.